Joy fam. So to those that have been following some of my content, thank you so much. That this is another step in sharing my life and myself with you, and hopefully some lessons that someone can relate to. I wanted to really share my testimony of how God has changed my life so much and helped me to heal. And I know we need more real stories out there so that we all can identify with someone and improve our own journey to healing. So I was actually struggling with some substance abuse issues and depression for a long time. And if I have to go back and track back where it all started is when I started art school in 2015. There was a lot of stress to pay my fees, and I'd started art school because I got in a really good modeling job and that paid for 70% of it. But of course, I still had to do the balance. Got through my first year, second year, more stress, more anxiety. And that's when I think I started having my first panic attacks. And in my first year of art school as well, I was not on good terms with my congregation. To those of you who did watch my episode on joy and spirituality, you'll see that I talk about how the relationship was broken there and how that really affected me because my church life, my spiritual life was very grounding. So around that time, I met my partner who we dated for 4 years, and that relationship ended last year. But around the time when we met, I was working in the club scene. I was working as a waitress at a club called Jade, and he was a barman, and that's how we met. And maybe 6 months later, we were really good friends, and we started to spend so much more time together and started getting romantically involved and intimate and things. So around then, I was dealing with my anxiety issues, of course. But if I have to fast forward, his mom was in stage 4 cancer, and at that time she decided to move back so she could be with her family to find other alternative treatments and to be around, of course, for their support. And that was really early on in our relationship. So I became open to more social substance use. And at the time, because I was also looking for connection, and that's what I realized is why I opened myself up to. Because before that, I was really health conscious. You could ask so many people who known me for a little while. I was was the person you could come to ask about fitness advice, for nutrition advice, all that type of thing. I was so obsessed with it in a healthy way, pardon the pun. And I got into a really dark place because I was really looking for a new group of people to be with. And because I was also ashamed of being open to using substances, my circle got smaller and smaller. I'll still be friendly with a lot of people, but I was now keeping secrets, and I was withdrawing also from my mother and from my cousin, people who were really close to me. And I knew that some people could probably see the difference in me. And his mother eventually passed away after fighting cancer for, I think, maybe 9 months, 6 months. And it, of course, it takes a toll on your relationship. We dealt with it in general really well. I think it did bring us closer, but for me, I started losing who I was, and I now, with wisdom, know that it was never his fault. In the time I was really, to an extent, blaming him. Never really said that, but there was a part of me that did. And now I can see I made certain choices. Yes, your partner can protect you from some things, but you make your own choices. And I started losing myself. When you start keeping secrets, you keep on changing who you are in certain circles, and that's exhausting emotionally. So that's why I would withdraw so much from the people who really cared about me and were offering me opportunities because they saw a lot of my potential. Um, and I realized that I needed to question if we were good for each other. because who I was with him was not who I wanted to be all the time. And there were many times in the relationship that I questioned that, but I was not courageous enough to make a choice. And I was also afraid of making the wrong choice, of losing him, because I really honestly adored and I loved him. But I think as I gotten older, because I'm 32 now, you will meet people who you absolutely adore and who you're drawn to, but you're not good for each other. And that is, I think it's just a law of nature, and it's nothing against those two people. I even made notes because if I get emotional, then I can remember. And I just remember feeling really guided and protected. And a lot of my friends of faith, people who are still in, going regularly to church and are really still building the relationship with God, were still open to chatting to me and would still reach out to me. And there became a time, couple of years after his mom had passed away, that they were still reaching out to me. And as he was going through different levels of grief, you know, you can become depressed and a lot of suffer from a lot of anxiety. And I don't want to talk a lot about his journey, but that started affecting me. And because I think I had tendencies for anxiety before our relationship, even, I started becoming depressed because I was trying to give to him and be there for him emotionally all the time, and not realizing that, certain things are not my responsibility to do for him, to push him to do certain things. But I think as women, we always wanting to be there for our partners, but we need to learn to draw healthy lines, and we were still dating, and we were living together on and off. So I had to start um, making harder choices. And because I was still connecting with people of faith, I started praying to God and asking him, what should I be doing? And, he really guided me to seek outside counsel. So I went to a counselor, a friend of mine, who literally came to pull me out of my depressive state. Bless her heart. Um, she came into the house and I was curled up in a ball, and she was like, Tina, what is going on? You know, why are you pulling away like this? And she helped me to find a counselor. Um, so one thing I want to definitely highlight is that there's such a big connection between diet and your mind. And to those of you who want to know, I will, be sharing links, and in my content in the future, I'll be sharing those links between diet and your mind, and how it can actually feed your depression, which you do not want, and how me changing my diet to be more vegetarian and hopefully in the future be vegan is really the right path to me also controlling my anxiety and avoiding depression altogether, other than my spirituality, which is really, thank you Lord so much for relieving me from a lot of what was causing me anxiety and depression. And depression is a roller coaster. You have to develop a plan for yourself and personalize that, whether it's going to see a counselor, doing more exercise, changing your diet, changing the crowds that you're around, changing what you're listening to and reading, so that you're not feeding your mind with the same things that got you to that point. And also, there will be ups and downs, and you need to be able to speak to someone and say, this is what is happening with me, and not just close off. Okay, because there's hope. We don't have to stay in that dark place. And I did. Mine was watching so much series and doing the same things over and over again, because that was the way that my mind soothed itself. But I had to shock myself out of that by changing my routine and reaching out and talking to someone about it. And I would just say I love the people that I met around that time. One of my biggest fears was to make it sound like they were terrible people and they were bad influence. And I want people to know that I made choices and I own those choices. And to be honest, there's so much hurt and pain and trauma out there that this world does not give you the space to deal with it. So people take certain things, get into certain habits to deal, and that has also given me a respect, to be kind when you speak to people who are abusing substances, because they are dealing with certain things, and if you don't tackle that, how can they let go of this thing that they're trying to use to cope with their pain? So I give a shout out to all of those people, and just to say I respect your journey, and I just want to share my story because it may give someone hope and a new perspective on things. And I want to thank those that really supported me to this point, because if I look back now, I can see all the growth and the healing. I can't explain everything to you, and I realize it's okay, but I've had different spiritual leaders, Pastor Eric and Pastor Rachel Balumas, Pastor Selena and Jerry, Ivana Bieru, Danielle Jordan. You won't even realize it, but you were an example to me. Um, my best friends, Laletu, Tessa, thank you so much. To Saskia, thank you so much. To Jean. There's a lot of people that were part of my journey, and that continue to be, and that I just want you to know there's hope. There is so much hope. If you can't, if you think that your mind will never be able to get out of those dark places again, your mind can renew, your body can renew, and that's how you were built to be. To once you become aware of something better, you can move towards that and put that on and leave behind what you now know is darkness and is not good for you. There's always hope. So Joy Fam, I hope that there's someone out there that needed to hear this story and that can take hope from this. And I love you so, so much. Thank you so much to those that have been following some of my content. I want to grow it so much more and share all of these things that have got me to this point, from health to fitness, from how to change your mind and your thinking. I'll share all of that with you. And I'm learning on how to be open and vulnerable. So I hope that you will come with me on this journey, because I'm excited, and God has given me another chance, and I praise Him. And last but not least, I'm going to say again, thank you to my mother, who's been so amazing. You'll see she's really cute if you watch Joy and Spirituality. And to my God, who knows me intimately, and I give all praise to Him. Mwah. Love you, Joy Fam.